This is the Oz report for Saturday, February 5th, 2022. And we're going to start where we left off last week, and that is cerebral accelerators. So, little public service announcement here right off the bat. Brain freeze cerebral accelerators, they're going to cease to work on the 8th, so in about two to 3 days they're going to cease to work. So if you have these lying around, you need to sell them immediately. And you can already see, if you look at the basic brain freezes, they're basically free now. So now you can pick them up and eat them. You should be eating them on all your characters because it's basically just free SP, right? It's an amazing deal. The extended ones, you can eat them until the last day, and then they will have their extended effect going beyond their validity. So those you can actually take. When they are gone, though, I told you guys last week to already invest in the convergent ones, because there are way more brain freezes out there than convergence. So what will happen is all these people that are now addicted to brain freeze cerebral accelerators, they will need to switch over to convergent ones, and those I already own all of them, and you own the other half, I'm sure, since last week. So we're going to be making a lot of money. So when we look at the ISK efficiency of these, you can see that the brain freeze ones are super cheap. The basic ones are 24 ISK per SP, which is basically nothing. It's basically free, right? The extended ones then get a little bit more expensive, and the potent ones are actually quite expensive. Now, the potent ones, if you're below 5 million SP, you're actually better off buying large skill injectors at this point, right? If you look at the convergent ones, the basic convergent ones are still very, very cheap. So 200 ISK per SP is not a lot, right? So the price of 3.5 million is still a good price. I would still buy them, right? I would still buy them. They're going to increase in price, mark my words, okay? They will definitely increase in price. If you look at the extended ones, even those at 500, that's not expensive. That's a fair price, because if you look at the ISK efficiency of, say, a daily alpha injector, that's 850. So these are still significantly cheaper per SP, right? If you look at the efficiency of a large skill injector, if you're between 5 and 50 million SP, it's 1700 ISK per SP, right? Again, compared to 500 of the extended convergent ones at a current price of 43 million. So those are still cheap. They're going to be increasing in price once the brain freezes cease to work. And this event is already over as well, so you will not be able to, maybe it's still the Doctor Who one. Maybe is it still running? It's not going to be running for that much longer. If it is, again, I don't really run any of these events, so I sometimes don't know. So when these don't stop dropping, right, which probably already happened, they will increase in price. When the brain freeze stop working, they will increase in price. So the convergent ones are a good investment right now. That's the start on cerebral accelerators. We talked about Master at Arms cerebral accelerators as the substitute of them. They've been hurting because of all of these, right? But they're going to come back, and they have started coming back, because there's not going to be cerebral accelerators for everything for the rest of the year. So these are going to be the ones that are steadily available. And so right now they're cheap, but they're going to come back. Also a good investment right now. The expert cerebral accelerators, they're just around 1 billion. They're not changing much right now. Let's talk about ice and fuel. I mentioned this last week. Strontium clathrates, those are very, very cheap right now. They dropped in price significantly. And this week, they dropped even lower. This is historically low pricing on strontium clathrates. There's two things you can do. One is you can buy this. Two, you can look at fuel blocks, because the biggest use of strontium is fuel blocks. and you can see that they've gotten very, very cheap. I've listed two here, the hydrogen and the oxygen one. The oxygen one is actually not as available. If we look at the availability of these, the oxygen fuel block is not as available. The hydrogen fuel block is, right? So here on the hydrogen one, definite oversupply. These are definitely cheap. It's a good time to jump in there. Yes, ice has dropped a lot in price. Yes, fuel blocks have dropped a lot in price, but they're going to at some point even out, and to me they already have. So I think it's a good time to jump into them. The oxygen probably even more than the hydrogen ones. Let's talk about moon goo. Interesting things happening here. One is, let's start with titanium. Titanium has had a huge price drop here this week. You can get buy orders on titanium for 3,600, and that is insanely cheap. This margin is great from 3.6 to 4.3. But also this has got to be an overreaction here. Somebody dropped a ton. You can see increased volume here. Somebody dropped a ton of this on the market. I'm jumping in here, buying up titanium because it's super cheap right now. Cesium. Cesium was dropping in price like crazy, and it's had a very, very steady rally going on over the last few weeks. So I'm riding this wave up. Especially if you can get some fulfilled here on buy orders at 7.9. That's an insanely good price, and I've been able to do so. So if you can jump in here, get some buy orders on cesium, I think you can ride up the wave. And the margin of about, what is that, 800 ISK is also not bad, right? This is over a 10% margin here. That you can already take, plus the upside potential. So cesium is one of my favorites right now as well. Evaporite deposits, they have dropped a lot in price. These are used in a lot of those new components for large ships, like the core temperature units, etc. And they have just there was a lot of them available in the market, and about half of them disappeared this week. So that's always something that makes me wary of maybe a turnaround in the market. Either somebody bought up a bunch, which it doesn't look like it, or people have just stopped producing as many. And so evaporate deposits, to me, also something to keep an eye on. Maybe this drop has finally ended, and we'll see a spike. Have a look at Adam Freeve, have a look at the availability. If it keeps on dropping, this is going to be very interesting, because evaporate deposits is a very, very big market. Let's look at salvage and drone parts. Number one, Elite Drone AI. Already talked about this last week. Elite Drone AI is again very cheap, sub 1 million buy prices. So this is very good, right? They have had their demand cut out because of the excavator drones. Excavator drones aren't being built anymore. I said that last week. And so Elite Drone AI has a much less demand in the game. However, it has flattened out at 1 million. So what you can learn from that is, even if there's way, way less demand, there's always this kind of baseline demand at 1 million. So I don't think it's going to drop much lower than that. So if you want to hold it for the mid to long term, then right now is the time to buy Elite Drone AI and wait for it to spike again due to an increase in, be it excavator drones, or be it other types of drones, or be it somebody just increasing production a lot, a large alliance, etc. This could have various indications. So this is still good. It is used in geckos as well. However, geckos basically have no material costs. So if you look at what goes into geckos, it's only 2 Elite Drone AIs. The price of geckos comes from contracts, from their BPC. And so you can see here there's basically no gecko BPCs available, and the buy price right now is at 98 million, which is quite cheap. The sell price is at 108, so there's a good margin here, and so a healthy demand with a nice market and a low buy price. I think geckos are a good time right now to put out buy orders right now. The next two I want to mention is logic circuits and power circuits. So logic circuits dropped a ton last week. We talked about them. They came back, okay? They came back. The sell price is already back at 630, which is not a great price. The buy price is still down at 560, which is a good price. So you kind of have to either buy this through buy orders, which is entirely possible. Salvage is dumped to buy orders all the time, and this is a very, very big market. So put out buy orders for logic circuits and power circuits. Those as well, the buy orders at 340 are quite good here. The sell orders at 360 are not terrible, but they're average, right? Again, very big market. What you can ask yourself is, well, what does this go into, right? And so two things I've selected here, two of the biggest markets that make up logic circuit and power circuit demand are two rigs. One is the large capacitor control circuit 2, and that has dipped in price as well. So if you want to dip into something that in the long run you can profit of logic circuits and power circuits going back to the original price, which they will, right? The oversupply was event-based, meaning, you know, you can stock up on these rigs to ride that wave back up. Large capacitor control circuit 2 is one, and medium ancillary current router 2 is the other, which hasn't dropped as much in price. But if you look here, there's basically almost no organic demand left, and even the buy price at 19.6 is a fairly good price if you look at yearly average. All right. So let's finish off with. We talked about these on stream earlier, the GIST X-Type Extra Large Shield Booster. This is an item that has a steady trade volume of 25. Now 25 doesn't sound high, but if you compare the 25 with the average price of about 1.5 billion, you realize that this is a 30, 40, 50 billion a day market. Right? This is a very, very big market. And you see that little volume spike yesterday just meant that somebody went in and bought these out. And an item that typically goes for 1.5 billion now goes for 2.5 billion. The margin is of course insane, right? Because the buy prices just didn't catch up. This is just somebody going in and buying a bunch of these out. I don't think this is for speculation. I think this is an alliance actually needing these modules. And so if you have these lying around, now might be a good time to liquidate these, because right now there isn't even half a trade day left in the market. There's basically 10 left in JITA for an item where 25 of them are typically traded on any given day. So, not really, the trade indication here is only try to get rid of them, right? Try to get rid of the ones that you have. Don't buy these right now, they're way too expensive. GISTM B-type 10mn afterburners, also you can see here they're completely gone from the market, but here, interestingly enough, these haven't spiked in price yet. So if you want to do what happened here, basically buy out the entire market. On the GISTM B-type 10mn afterburners, this is also a big market, also a popular item, very similarly, but here there's only a few left and they're not as expensive. So this is basically a buyout waiting to happen. So I would be surprised if by the end of our show somebody hasn't bought this out. Multiple pilot training certificates. I'm just mentioning these because we had a sale last week. The sale crashed these by 10 to 15%, and now it's climbing back up. If you need these because you want to actually train multiple pilots, right now is a very good time to get these. It's difficult to get buy orders fulfilled typically because just the volume isn't that high. but even the buy price at 1.3 billion is, you know, lower than it has been in a long time. And last but not least, raging electrical filaments. These are interesting because they were hugely popular last year. They've essentially been dropping in price all year, and now in the last month or two they've actually started going up. And so right now, not only is there a very nice margin between the 7.8 and the 8.8 on an item that is just like liquid. This is a very liquid item, right? Raging electrical filaments, they turn over quickly. So get your buy orders in here, but also basically no risk, because trend is hardcore up, and even if it stagnates, you can still sell it for a profit. Cool. All right, that's the Oz report for today, and we will return to the regular stream. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.